of our speaker today, Tandy Caraway. Tandy, come on up and give her some love.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing? All right. So those of you all that just came in, he said it earlier, but I want to make sure I said this is an interactive workshop. I really do feed off of people's energy. So keep it lively, ask the questions and all those things. There's a lot of resources I'm going to show you online. Go ahead. If you did not go to the YouTube channel Empower series, go ahead and go there so that you can bookmark getting back to the resources that I'm going to show you and talk about today. That's the easiest way to get back to these things. All right. So a little bit about myself and my journey. On the picture here, Clifton and I went back and forth about the title. I think we went like, the thread was like five back and forth. Will tell me they have that aspiration, that hope to go to college. And then right behind they say, but I can't afford it. Like the thing goes forth and then they snatch it back and don't believe it's possible for them. So we wanted to talk about unlocking your college dreams and giving you these practical strategies. On the pictures, I absolutely am fans of my kids. If you happen to follow me on Facebook, you know undoubtedly seen all of them by now that are in this picture. A lot of them are actually off to college already, debt free right now, as we took that picture about a year and a half ago. So the reason behind why I started college mode, that's my graduation picture. And then below there's a abbreviated list of scholarships that I won when I was in high school. And so one thing I realized, I was first generation and I was much like Clifton. I knew because of my situation, they had made it clear we can't pay for college. Not only that, if we do figure it out, you're going to be right here at home. And I was like, that's not the life for me. So y'all young people that's ready to, rock and roll, college is one of the ways you can do that. And so I was working really hard. One of the things I tell people, I started out at Skyline High School. I had some issues there. The counselor, even though I had straight A's, I was going to end up in summer school. And so I knew if she couldn't figure out how to keep me in the right classes with straight A's, I don't know how the lady was going to help me get to college. So I had to get out of there. I got out of there fast. I went to a mentoring organization, the Negro Women's Council. And I'm saying it, but you guys have probably heard of it. And there were teachers there and we looked for options. So I ended up at Lincoln High School where I graduated with over $1 million in scholarship opportunities. All right. Once I lived life and circled back and became a math educator, long story short, what I recognized is those of us that were trying to get the second generation off to college, we were struggling so much harder than the first time. And it was because we did the thing. We did the thing that our grandparents and our parents had dreamed. We actually went to college and we actually had some money to do it with Pell Grants and things. And because college was much cheaper then, you could get a Pell Grant and work the rest. Try not to walk in front of the light. Should be. So when students are working so hard outside of their studies, they don't have time to do those things. They don't have time to get involved and do those things. So we want to be thoughtful about that as well. All right. So today I've outlined I've outlined it and I'm going to go over with you 4 steps to debt-free college. Right? What are the 4 things you need? All right. Number 1, step 1 is to determine your major or career interest. A lot of times people will ask young people, even kids as early as elementary, what college are you interested in? I do it sometimes. The truth of the matter is it doesn't matter what college I'm interested in unless they have my major. I'm wasting my time. Unless they have the direct connections to my industry and major, the thing I'm interested in, I should not even be considering it, right? So you start here. A lot of people start body. So finding that keeps students motivated. I had the pleasure of speaking with some college students that were interning with a friend's STEM company last night. They were totally motivated. One of them just started a business, but they know that that's what they want to do. So they're going to do the work. How do you do this? You do career assessment tools and interest inventories, and you research and connect with people in those industries. So last night when we were sitting around at dinner with these college students, there was somebody from GM. There was somebody from Siemens. So they were making that connection point. So that's going to be important for us to do. So I'm going to take you out right now to a tool I really very like 3 questions. It's actually pretty good at predicting it. So I'd like to tell people and the public, do this. I have a more detailed assessment I do with my students, but this is free and you can access it pretty easily. One of the young people or students that's interested in the audience, somebody want to do this with me? 3 questions, volunteer. Thank you. All right. So you don't have to get up. I just want you to look at the screen and tell me, out of these things, what would you be most interested in? Is it going out? Oh, you're giving him the mic. Okay. All right.
You can do film.
Film.
Yeah, I think it's a 3rd row and the 2nd column.
Okay. Got it. All right. Now, what would be the other?
And then entrepreneur.
Okay. There we go. All right. Now, he gave us the 2 things he's interested in. This 3rd question is, what lights you up at your core?
I'm trying to read it.
Out of these things, what could you do every day? You would never get tired of it.
I'll say being creative.
What is it?
Being creative.
Being creative.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. So I have a question. Yes. Road trip. Road trip nation. Like taking a road trip nation. When you go on there, you click on explore. See, it's on my toolbar. I go to it quite often. All right. So it tells us, he told us his interests are film, entrepreneurship, and being creative. And it says careers that match your roadmap: special effect artists, producers and directors, software, quality assurance analysts. Notice these little squiggly lines that are pointing up. That tells you how the job market is, the outlook is for it. So that's another really cool feature. And then one of my favorite things, what we said was, they still need to explore. Like, you have these options in front of you, but how do you know if it's something you really want to do? So on this site, they have people that are working these careers, and you can listen to their stories and whether they did a direct path there or they kind of went around the way and finally got there. So there's some more career options here. Talent director, musicians, singers, broadcast announcers, and radio announcers. Poets, lyricists, creative writers, sound engineering technician, film and video editors. Out of those things, what do you think you would be most interested in?
Can you go back to the first one? Probably those 2 right there, special effect artist and producer and director. Probably producer and director.
Okay. Producer and director, he said. So we're going to go on here, click. I think it's trying to go. This is the thing about doing stuff live. All right. So it gives you the median salary and the job predicted growth. And then it tells you leaders on Road Trip Nation who you can go look at and learn from, right? It tells what they do, how they describe a typical day at work. I think this is so important. Sometimes a student will come to me that's like in 5 sports and say, I want to be an accountant. And I'm like, not so much. Probably not. And they're like, why, Miss Sandy? Because you like the numbers, but you are not going to sit at the desk and look at spreadsheets all day, right? They're a kinesthetic person. They got to keep moving. But what's the next career next to that? Financial analyst and people like Clifton that meet with people all the time. They're up and moving and having interaction. So looking at what a typical day looks like at work is really important. Tasks and responsibilities, education, like it really goes in depth. So this is why it's one of my favorite tools. Even when I use my assessment that's more detailed, we still come over here and do research and career exploration. And then if you look at this and you go, it's not what I thought it was going to be, it gives you related careers on the side besides the ones that I already gave you. So I would say if a student is really struggling, there are 2 kinds of students that kind of struggle. Students that are really good at a lot of stuff. They can't figure out which one thing I'm directing them, but just sitting down and giving them that support, like, hey, let's look at it. What do you think? And having that conversation. Like, he was willing to step up. We had a moment, right? Yeah. You got a site to go to and look up your stuff and see how you want to move in entrepreneurship, because he's talking to us earlier about being an entrepreneur. All right. Any questions about this? Because this is step 1. We have 3 more steps to go. Questions? No? Yes. Yes, because when we were young, I'm dating myself, the occupational outlook handbook is still there. And I go there sometimes, but it's not as detailed and it's not as tangible because you're meeting real people. And what I tell students, if you're really courageous, go out on LinkedIn and social media and find the people. These are real people. Okay. Thank you for that comment, that feedback. All right, going back into the presentation. So one of the things that we wanted to provide you with today is tangible, like we went on the site, we did it here live for you and show you how it works, but then what do you do next with this, right? So the next action step is to complete the career assessment. So he did his, you ladies have yours to do now, right? Discuss the findings with a peer or parent. Talk about it with somebody so that you can really think it through. The ONET interest profiler. Because what if you go on Road Trip Nation, you got those 9 options, you're like, there's like 5 things I want to do. Go on something else and find where everything aligns the most. That would be really helpful for you. Okay. All right. Step 2. Now we're on to the colleges. So we're on to the colleges and why it's important to pick a great college. You actually have to live at that place. You actually have to stay there. You have to like the people. You're going to eat the food there. All the things, your social activities are going to be there. So you want to make sure all of your personal needs, your social, your food. Like I had a student that was a vegetarian a couple years ago. That was an interesting search for a college because we want to make sure they don't think that she should be surviving off of just salads and vegetables off the hotline, right? Like real food that she would kind of eat at home. And if not, does she have access to cook her own and store her own food supplies and things? So you want to check those things out on top of course, how well connected are they in your industry? So he said producer, director. Interestingly enough, when I leave here, I'm headed out to Atlanta for my students that's in the CTIMS program, which is the Cinema, Television, Entertainment program at Morehouse. He's graduating in 3 years. I'm super proud of him. That is a college who graduated from Morehouse that's in his field. Anybody know? Any guesses? Martin Luther King did. My student is a King Scholar. Yep. But when we talk about cinema, TV, producers, director, who graduated from Morehouse that stays connected to it? Spike Lee. Yeah. So one of the cool things about someone like him that has that interest, they absolutely have the industry connections for him there. Yeah, they absolutely have it. So making sure you pick a strong program that has industry connections and strong programming and curriculum is important as well. You want to research your colleges. There's something called College Navigator that's set up by the government. It's really good. It has a lot of detailed information if you're into numbers. You want to evaluate program, faculty, resources, and scholarship money available. Don't forget the scholarship money. Don't forget the scholarship money. Sometimes we fall in love with a school. We should have checked the money first. It's like we don't go on the Lexus lot if we got Toyota money, right? We got to go down to the Toyota lot and get some of the features that might be in the Lexus. All right. So check out the university site, College Navigator. We're going to use Big Future. That's part of the College Board site. So let's take a look at that. All right. Now is your time to shine. Y'all got a college for me to look up? We'll find one. We'll find one. All right. Y'all being shy? Can't be shy around me when you're trying to get money for college because that's the first thing. I tell students all the time. Yeah, if money's in the room, money rarely looks like opportunity doesn't ever really look quite like the opportunity it is, right? Like the students that were sitting with us at a restaurant last night, there was somebody at that table that literally can make the call and get the internship for them. But he was dressed in Crocs and shorts. Opportunity rarely looks like what you think it's going to look like. So listen and look for the clues that it's an opportunity and engage with it. All right. So, yes.
So, what you're showing these different resources,
Mm-hmm.
are they students coming out of high school or when you want to go back?
Very good question, because when we thought about this, and part of the name was unlock. Huh? Repeat the question. So her question was, is this just for students coming out of high school? Or what if you want to go back to school? Are these the steps and resources? And they go find a college that has nursing and put in an application and, okay, I got accepted. I'm going to this college. That is not the process. That's why so many people going back to school end up taking out student loans. That's precisely why, because they skip the process, right? You don't need the interest inventory a lot of times when you're going back to school for a career. Some people do, but most people I find they've done enough out in the work for themselves, you know, in different jobs. Then now I know what I want to do. Take the next step, start looking for the college and match it to the program and the money. Yeah. Because you don't need the social a lot of times. You're going to try to go local or online, but match it to the program and the cost. Yep.
Hey, Tandy, can I give an example about, you talked about networking for an intern job, right?
Yes.
Do you want an example of that happened with Tyler, or you want me to do it later?
You can. Yeah.
So I told you Tyler was going to the Ohio State University, and in the summer of 2021, he wanted an internship. Mm-hmm. So he was applying all over the place, wasn't getting any traction, and just called me. I don't know, Tyler, was this in April or May? It was like towards the very end of the process, and said, "Hey, I want to come to Dallas to do an internship." I said, "Well, who have you applied for?" And so what I did is I did exactly what you said. I went onto LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I knew a lot of people who were in the real estate space who were architects or knew an architect, and I just sent an email, not really asking them for an intern opportunity, but asking them or telling them that my son was getting a undergrad degree in architecture, mm-hmm. and would they be willing to talk to him to give him advice about. And then I had Tyler identify the different companies that he wanted to work for. So I went on to LinkedIn to see if I knew anybody at those companies, or if even my circle of friends knew anybody at those companies. So when I identified them, I sent out one company, HKS, mm-hmm. one of the premier architectural firms, didn't even respond. And so I just followed up and said, "Hey, thank you for your efforts." They didn't even respond to Tyler. And then they responded by saying, "Thank you for your resume. We didn't even get a chance to look at it because there were so many different people applying." So because I responded and said, "Thank you for responding," the president at that time of the Real Estate Commission, or the Real Estate Council, emailed somebody at HKS. Mm-hmm. They looked at his portfolio. The guy who was running the program called Tyler, and he had an interview that next day, and he got the job. So what I'm saying is that one of the speakers said that we have to be better angel watchers, because there are people around us, mm-hmm. that could help you take that next step. That's why the most important piece of the Empower series is connecting you to resources and building those relationships. You don't know where they're going to come from, but the two people who were instrumental in connecting Tyler to this job, mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, because I'm hard on my kids about that. And I go, we can do all this work. If you don't open your mouth when you get there because something goes wrong, we could not lose all of it, but the fullness of the opportunity doesn't exist anymore because you didn't take that next step, right? So, all right, I'm pushing y'all a little bit, but we're going to do this because I want you to...
We family here.
We family here. But I want you guys to get the opportunity and understand when you're in rooms. I tell people after 25, people just look at you. When you say you want something, they're like, where your money at? Under 25 being in college, you could ask for a whole bunch of stuff and people will just do it because they want to help the next generation succeed. All right. So, all right. One of you tell me a major that you're interested in. One of the two, because he already had his turn. International relations. Okay, let's see what we can do. Yeah, I don't think that's it. Let me see if poli-sci is by itself. All right, global studies. Is there any particular area? Because they have in here, let's see. They have the very specific ones, or African, European. Did they put it on this one? Let me do that. I'll do a couple of them. It's just that I don't have my keyboard. So I'm like, what's the easiest way to get around? So Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Jersey, New York. All right. And I would say we're missing one, Pennsylvania. All right. All right, now we're down to 121 colleges. So this is why I say you want to start here because you want to have an idea. So my next big thing is affordability. I don't like to choose colleges that pay less than 70% because that means your gap is over 25%. So getting into the technicalities a little bit, guys. When this says financial need met, if your financial need is $10,000, then they're only guaranteeing they're going to give at least 75% of that. $2,500 is going to be your responsibility. And that's if they are a college that's 100% needs met. Those colleges are extremely competitive. There's a 100% needs met. 5% of the cost, not necessarily your need. So I don't even want those colleges that fall below that. All right, now we cut the list down to less than half. We only have 47 colleges here. And that's why we start with the money. Okay, that's why we start with the money. All right, and we're going to assume a 3.25 at least. Now we're down to one college. Yeah, happens real fast. So be mindful of the work you have to do in college, in high school on your GPA and your test scores. I can tell you what happened. I put the test score down at average. If I go back and change this test score and put it more like 1200 and say show colleges. No, it's still, okay. Oh, yeah, and the GPA.
UMass Boston.
Okay. So she told me UMass Boston is what she wants to look at. You want to do because colleges aren't always transparent. They're trying to get us logged in because total range how much they normally have people pay out of pocket. Okay, of the college, and then down here is students receiving aid. Freshmen would need 95% of them have need, but there's $5,000. When we think about us in our community. What does our child need to feel safe? Also, how is the staff? Because if your child gets sick, whether they're playing sports or not, is there health care? If they have some condition that's not, it's chronic, but like a diabetic student, are the resources there? Is somebody going to see about them? Is there a point person on campus, right? Those are all really important considerations. Like I had a student that has seizures. He hasn't had one in years. Every year he does a whole post about he's seizure free, but he decided to stay more local because of his condition. Yeah. So I would say health, rising costs, diversity, their comfortability within diversity. Those are some other things. And then social. One of my students was with me yesterday. She played soccer since she was like 4 years old. But that's not something she wanted to do competitively in college, but she wanted to continue to play. So she's part of their club soccer. So for her, it would have been important that she could still play soccer on some level while she's in college, because that's the way she stays fit too. Any other questions? That was a great question. Welcome. Hey. Okay. All right. So again, Big Future is the site I use, but I also gave you College Navigator as a resource to look at. So this was step 2. Step 1 again was, if you're just tuning in, to find the career interest. And now we know what we're looking for. This young lady shared with us she wanted to do international relations. We found some colleges, one in particular, and we looked at the numbers. So look at the numbers and see if it makes sense for you. Step 3. Oh, why I'm on that. She specifically said she wanted to go to the Northeast, but there may be a school in the Southeast that's way cheaper. Be open to that. Be open that geographically might not match the money you're looking for. Okay. Also, I would tell students, some people get upset with me. I'm still going to stand on it. I got to live somewhere for 4 years. It needs to be somewhere I'm comfortable. Okay. It needs to be somewhere I want to be. So for me, you need to decide if the HBCU environment, which HBCU environment or PWI environment, is that working for you? So a lot of times there was this thing, I still don't understand how I got started, saying that like HBCUs don't give out scholarships. That's a lie. They give out a lot of money. Over half my kids go to HBCUs on scholarship. So keep in mind that what you have in mind for yourself may not match up with the money. And then there may be other opportunities. I had a student that really wanted to go to Texas State this year, but she didn't do all the work. She was doing some social stuff when she should have been searching and filling out scholarship applications. And so it was a college that's on her list, but she did have to take her second choice. So be open to those other things. So step 3 is to make a college funding plan. So we looked at that and we said, okay, we saw that the range was somewhere around 14,000 to 22,000 for UMass, if you're looking on that last web page. And so you want to know, where am I going to get that 14 to 22,000? So we're going to just say 20,000. We're going to play around and say it's 20,000. A clear funding plan helps you identify all possible sources. The earlier you do this, the more sources you have. The later you do it, the less sources you have. All right. How to do it. You want to use a template and list all possible funding sources, scholarships, grants, work study, savings, prioritize and schedule application deadlines, college template. All right. So you all have a handout, the college funding comparison chart. If you are on YouTube, it is down below the video. All right. It's a college comparison chart. These are all the different commonly used ways to pay for college. Of course, we all talk about scholarships and grants. I have talent competitions separate because a lot of times students that are creative have skills that people will give them money for just based on that talent alone, right? And so that a lot of times can start as early as kindergarten. Google's Doodle contest is for kindergartners and up, all right? Grants are mostly need-based aid. So a lot of times we're like, I can't pay for college, I need it. You declaring you can't pay for college based on your home budget and what the government and the college says you should be able to pay are two very different things. Okay? Two very different things. So they don't really care that you didn't budget your money the way that they budget money or say that you should budget money. So keep that in mind. And then gift aid to students who meet certain criteria. Those are mostly going to be merit, skill-based, story. Like if I want to support someone who wears eyeglasses, or I want to support someone who has served homeless people, because that's a passion of mine too. If I'm the donor, then that, that's where you get all those different kinds of scholarships from. But what I often hear is people say, apply for all the scholarships. Who here, when they were looking for a job, applied for every job that was open? You did? Any job, didn't matter the title, the money, or anything? That. Why?
Because not every job was like a good fit for me, or what it was that I was searching for.
Right.
So location mattered to me. Money, the work environment, stuff like that.
Yes. That is the same thing with scholarships. That is one of my pet peeves. I hate to hear people say apply for every scholarship. Number one, it's not humanly possible, right? And just applying for any scholarship when the funder clearly wants a certain type of person to give that money to is a waste of your time. So that's something to be mindful of. Be very specific about the scholarships you apply for. Make a list of the things that you've done, your interests, your stories, your background. I tell people you should have about at least 10 of those things. All right. A couple of them for us are given: minorities, Black female, Black male. There's a lot of scholarship money that's the first filtering criteria for. But then she says she wants to do something international. So foreign studies, study abroad, those are scholarships, right? Yeah.
So one of the things, going back to the experience I had with Tyler, is, if your child is in high school and they're very busy, the agreement we had is that I would go out and search for those type of scholarships that were within the realm of his interest. And if I found them, he had to do the work to apply for them.
Right.
And there were a few where I looked at, and when I passed it on to him, he looked at it in a little bit more detail, and he said, okay, this is outside of my interest, outside of my range.
Right.
So again, it is important to narrow down that scope because time is of essence, and you can't apply for everything, but it increases your odds of getting it if you meet the specific requirements of that particular scholarship or grant.
Very true. So very good point about that, and that working together. If your kid is very busy, this is something else I want to say, because I keep running across more and more people. I tell them this is the time requirement for my programming, and they say, we're doing AAU basketball, we're doing volleyball, they're doing this thing. And I go, no offense, what's the priority? What's the priority? Like, it could be that thing, and that is fine. But you need to know that you're choosing that over the scholarship money at that point. You need to know that that's the decision that's being made. It needs to be a conscious decision. How your child is spending their time from 10th grade on is a very big determiner of how much money they're going to be able to access. And we had the conversation, should they be doing everything for a scholarship? No, there's some things they should just be able to do because they love it just like any other human. But there should, at least, if they're in 5 activities, at least 2 of them should be scholarship connected. It should be a direct line to, I know scholarships are given by this organization, that organization, maybe even the organization they're in. If they're working a job, Tom Thumb, locally, because this is on YouTube. So Tom Thumb's a local grocery store, but when you look at Starbucks, Chipotle, some of those bigger brands, Target, Dollar General. When you look at some of these bigger brands, they give scholarship money. If you're going to spend your time working for $10, $12 an hour, get the double of having the scholarship money. Chick-fil-A. Every kid that's come through my program that worked for Chick-fil-A got the money. Alexa has gotten, at Auburn, she's gotten it every year. Okay? So if they're going to spend their time doing something that only pays $10 to $12 an hour, whereas my kids will say, the ones that are in college tell me that they have gotten, good enough at the process that they're making probably about $500 to $1,000 an hour and applying for scholarships. It pays better. It doesn't pay immediately, but it pays off better than working those jobs. And somebody told me that their kid mostly works to pay for sneakers and the kinds of foods that they don't buy at their house. If we talking about generational wealth, you talking about I'm gonna clog my arteries and make myself sick to not pay for college. That's the trait. Sometimes we don't realize what we're saying is why I say that. It's not a knock on anybody. I hope you guys are taking that the right way. Sometimes we don't realize what we're saying. We don't realize the choice we're really making when we choose this over that, right? I'm a plus size girl. Listen, but that's the reality of the situation. All right. So the things in red are those things that are very everybody is like, that's how I'm gonna pay for college. The things in blue are more about ways to save. Tuition waivers. So if you were in military, if grandparents sometimes, depending on it, if first responders, a portion of the tuition does not have to be paid, they waive it. It could be all, it could be 50%, something like that. Credit by examination. This is like CLEP, right? You can take a CLEP test for a course. If you know the knowledge, you can get credit at some colleges. You don't actually have to have taken a class or anything. Dual enrollment. High schools offer that. Some people are like, I don't want to do dual enrollment because I don't want my associates. It's too much work. Well, you can do a certificate while you're in high school for a trade and get college credit and have that under your belt, right? And also have college credit that takes up your elective courses in college. It's still saving money on college. Advanced courses with exams. These are our IB, International Baccalaureate programs, Advanced Placement, AP, and Cambridge are the most popular ones of those. And also ACE. All right. So those are ways to save money that somebody else is paying, the government, somebody else is paying for those courses and those waivers and things. And then the last thing is more about money you pay out of pocket from somewhere and planning to cash flow it, so to speak. Family business. Family businesses, with the FAFSA, it has changed. The SAI index no longer takes into consideration the family business like it did, but your deductions on what your income is still works. Okay. Student earnings through entrepreneurship. The gentleman I talked about is graduating from Morehouse. He did a pitch contest that I sent him, and that was his first cash money, $400. So if you're into entrepreneurship, do pitch contests. The Toast for Charity here in Dallas I think this week just had awarded their money for that, and they gave up to $10,000. Yeah.
And Comerica Bank and an organization called DEC, the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, they do pitch contest year round to give entrepreneurs an opportunity to fund their ideas.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't matter your age. If you say you want to be an entrepreneur, you go up there with your pitch deck. As long as you're following the guidelines, you have your chance to win. HBCUs also have the Black Ambition nonprofit started by Pharrell and my mentor, Felicia Hatcher. I have to plug her. She's the one that's sitting at the helm right now. They give out tens of thousands of dollars for HBCU students that attend HBCUs that want to be entrepreneurs, in a pitch contest just for them. Yes.
So when you go through this funding comparison chart, and hopefully I didn't miss it, but a lot of this was really targeted for high school students.
Yes.
So what would a funding comparison chart look like if you are one of two people? You're an adult.
Yes.
Who you've gone to work, but now you want to go back and get an advanced degree. Or secondly, if you are a graduate from undergraduate and instead of going to the workforce, you want to get funding for continuing to get your master's in a graduate school program.
Great question. So student earnings and connections, and I didn't write it that way. So remember I mentioned Chick-fil-A and the scholarships, but if you work at Chipotle and Starbucks, they will pay for you to go back to school. They will pay. They have a program for that, right? So last night at the table when I was talking to the interns, one of the guys said, my goal is when I graduate college to go to work for a year for someone. So his selectiveness about what place he's going to go to work for is dependent on, do they pay for his master's degree? So that's one of the easiest ways. Just, you're already working. Just change who you work for so they pay for it instead of you paying for it. One of the things I did when I went back to school for my teaching certificate is I worked at a hospital. The hospital, like, how the hospital paid? Because they had a community resource program that had educators in it. So I fell in the realm, and they paid for those first courses. So your job is probably the quickest, easiest, cleanest way to do it. If you are talking about going to grad school fellowships are the cleanest way to do it a lot of times. Now, there are scholarships out there for grad students, but having a job, because you already need a job, again, being able to do research and having that on your resume on top of that, plus the money for college. So fellowships are one of my favorite things. And actually there are some fellowships for undergraduate students. One of my students at FAMU did a fellowship with Gucci around art. And so they put her art on display. They mentored her. Imagine being mentored by Gucci's execs. They put her art on display, mentored her, and gave her money and an internship. It was great. So I want to make sure that you guys are thinking, thank you so much for asking that question. I always tell us that's really going to be the easiest way, because if most of those going back to college they're kind of tight for money. So they don't want to divert part of their money towards that. So then start looking for jobs that will pay. But the colleges also have scholarship money, the colleges themselves. So remember we said about looking at the money. One of the things we didn't stop to do today was to look at the scholarship financial aid office. Who do they offer money for? The Iota Phi Lambda, I think I got it right. It's a business sorority. They give away a scholarship every year for someone returning to school or mom returning to school. So there's money out there for that as well. Yes.
So again, I'm just sharing with you some of my experiences, right? So Tyler, after graduating from The Ohio State University, did not want to actually work in an architect firm. So he decided to go to get his master's. So he's now in his second year at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. And the school awarded him, I think, $46,000 a year for in scholarships.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the scholarship is the tuition is $55,000 a year, but it's still a lot, right?
Yeah, it was still 75. It was what I said about the 75%, right?
Exactly.
Because
But
my other thing is you're going to take out debt, pay it off in 5 years. Have a plan to pay it off in 5 years. Go ahead.
then the other thing we did is, for any profession, there's always professional associations. So for his profession, architecture, there's a number of professional organizations that provide scholarships to undergraduate as well as graduate school.
Yeah.
So when you're even looking now for undergraduate scholarships, look, because those organizations that might fund you for undergraduate work
Right.
might have a scholarship for graduate school as well. So put that in the back pocket, note it, so that when you are graduated from undergrad and you're looking for graduate school money, you can go back to that same organization and you have a history.
Yes. The other thing is joining those on-campus organizations that do that. Like being intentional about joining, if you're in tech, women in engineering, NSBE, National Society for Black Engineers. Like be intentional about joining those organizations. The Fraternity for Psychologists, like they have all of those fraternities, sororities, honor societies, professional groups. Most of them have scholarship money. Most of them have scholarship.
And I want to add something else too. So again, this is, if you have ideas, share, because this is about relationships. What I've told Tyler is there was a graduate from Ohio State that has his own architectural firm, but he has a scholarship that goes to first-year architect students who have the promise to complete the degree, and they only fund for the first year. I told Tyler to continually write a letter updating them on what you're doing in your career, not asking for anything, but just letting them know that you're still progressing. And even after you graduate, what you're doing in your career, because they would love to hear feedback of how their effort has helped somebody succeed in that career. And you're building a relationship to where if something comes up, and let's say you want to ask for some advice or some help, that's not the first thing you're asking for. You've built the relationship over time. So just don't let these scholarships now that are coming your way, you got them and you're gone. Build a relationship and stay in touch.
Yeah, I literally just told my kids and parents that Monday night. One of my students, she was like, I think it was the Deltas, sent her a scholarship list every semester, because she did that after the first one. They sent her a scholarship list every semester of scholarships she can continue to apply for. So yes, please do build that. All right, on this funding list, on this side, so if it's facing you, it's on the right hand side. It has pros and cons. And the reason why I put that in there and said comparison chart is because I wanted you to think about how does that work for you. So if you're a returning student, scholarships and grants, your time may be very limited for that. And it may be more beneficial, because you want to do a job switch and make more money, to go on the job hunt for 6 months and find that job that's going to help pay, and that takes care of everything or mostly everything, right? Dual enrollment, that may not be a good fit for your kid, right? Or your kid may feel like, I hate testing. I don't use that. I'm not a good test taker, because I tell people test taking is a skill. Most people don't take time to learn it. You may not be the most excellent, but don't let it be a barrier to what you want to do. Because our people who take care of us, like nurses and doctors, engineers for structure, they have to take an exam. So it's a skill that's learned that you have to practice. But I'm saying that to say, go down this list and see, look at the pros and cons for you, and make a list of which funding sources you're going to do. Scholarships take time and patience. I often tell students there's a cone of silence that happens. You apply for college, you're applying for these scholarships, you don't hear anything back. Spring break is coming up. I haven't heard from anybody. Keep applying. Because guess what? The Gates Scholarship, Jackie Robinson, they have 4 rounds that they go through. They don't even notify those kids until April. And you apply in like October. So there's going to be this quiet period. That's natural. Keep applying. Don't get discouraged. So anybody want to share something that they're like, I thought I might want to pay for college this way, but it doesn't look like it. There's some cons to it. Or somebody that's looking on here and like, actually, that's a really good way for me to pay for college, and I wasn't thinking about it. Anybody have some feedback about that? Anyone? No? All right. The other thing we have is the college budget worksheet. I didn't print it because it's interactive. And you're going to need to actually click on the file and play around with it. But I'm going to demo it a little bit for you guys like I've done the other things. All right. So she jumped in, so now it's your turn. We talked about we're all family if you've been watching this. So now it's her turn. Let's talk about what kind of college you would be interested in. Is it like a public college in-state? Private HBCU? You mind telling which one you're interested in?
It's Dillard University.
Dillard. So Dillard is in that 50 range. It's closer to 50 than it is to the range below out of state. So I'm going to leave it here at private tuition. And then living expenses at college. Are you going frugal or
On campus.
on campus? Okay, so you're going more frugal. All right. So when we look at this, what it looks like for 4 years is you would need $264,000. All right.
How many years?
4. Mm-hmm. All right. So the way this budget sheet works is, remember we had the comparisons here. You have the pros and cons to weigh it out. But now you're going to decide, am I actually going to use this or not? Right? So you say yes or no. And then how much do you want to get from scholarships, grants, these things? Remember, this is just like a prediction tool, so that you know you have it covered. So if I, actually, because I don't have my keyboard, you put in the amount here, and the goal is to get this down to 0. Okay, it'll keep taking away as long as you put things in here. And then remember, you can keep winning scholarships and grants while you're in college. You can keep taking CLEP exams. You know, there's things you can keep doing with cash flow and things like that while you're in college. So we put the amount before college and while you're in college, and then how much total that amount is will give you the total, and it's being subtracted from the 264,000. So you want to play around with this. Sometimes when students go out to college, they only have the first year fully covered debt free. They have the other years kind of like how Tyler is. They have them like at 75% covered, and they have to be working on that 25% each year, the year before, to make sure they have it. Sometimes they have everything covered through junior year, and they know senior year is going to roll around and they have, you know, $5,000 they need to make sure they win in scholarships or work for to have. So this is a really good prediction tool, and to give you a real reality check about what you should be doing and why. If you don't feel like doing the work, this is like, okay, here's why I need to do the work today.
And what's that website?
All of these links are below the YouTube video. This is something I personally made custom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, we got a little bit more time, so I don't know that we have to speed up, but I'm gonna make sure we go a little bit. So last step 4, last but not certainly least, you have to take action. Like the action step there was to play with that tool and see, so you really know what you're going to do. Now that you know how you're going to pay, now that you have a funding plan, because you compared it, you play with the tool, these are the things I'm going to use. Now you have to take action to secure these funds. You have to be proactive and consistent. Whether that consistency looks like every week, every month, every 2 weeks. Most scholarships are due on the 1st of the month, or the last day of the month, or the 15th. So I tell students working in 2-week sprints of, I'm going to find the scholarships right now. Today is May 18th, right? That are due for June 1st, and start working on them. Or even if I was to find the ones that are due June 15th or later, that might even be smarter so that I'm not in a rush. You want to follow a checklist of action steps for each one of these things. One of the things that we didn't talk about was FAFSA and CSS. So I'm going to talk about that briefly in a moment. But this My College Future Planning Timeline is something that you can use. And the link again is below. You want to write down actually, if I have time, I'm going to actually ask you to do before you leave today, use the pen and the pad. 3 immediate action steps you're going to take to start securing funds. Because one of the things about the Empower series that Clifton is really big on, I'm big on taking action, A couple people in the room have been in the room with me, and they know I always give y'all something to do, and I usually try to give you time to do it. It's really important to take action. So we're going to come back out the presentation one last time and go over to this tool, college planning timeline, and I'm just going to do 12th grade. Okay. Now, if you are returning to college, follow the 12th grade. Okay. Continue making campus visits. So looking at the college, meet with your counselor. Well, you don't have a counselor, meet with somebody that's been to college before that knows the steps. Get a calendar, mark it, and keep track of these deadlines. Make a list of your top college choices. So these young ladies had some choices. Consider applying early. Senior year, if you apply by the early action, early decision deadline, you will get more scholarship money. Complete your essays, anything required to get in, take the SAT or ACT. If you're returning to college, you most of the time don't have to do that, but you will have to do a placement test. So you still need to prepare and study for that. Get letters of recommendation, submit your college apps, follow up on scholarship opportunities, and look into financial aid. So I'm going to pause there so I can talk about the FAFSA for a moment. All right. All right. So anybody had a senior this year, or they were going to college and had to do the FAFSA in the room? Anybody? Anybody did the FAFSA this year? So, how was your experience? Okay. And I'm sorry.
It's pretty easy for me just because I've done it like previous years. So for returning students, you just kind of continue with the same steps in the application.
Yes.
But after like I know the first time that I did it, it was pretty like intensive. But then after that, it's pretty easy just to update it.
And this year in particular was intense because we had a new format. We had a new tool, right? And they switched from the EFC to the SAI. Do not wait till the last minute. Those monies that are like Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, those are Pell Grant is pretty set. But the additional grant monies that could be need-based that you qualify for are not set. They're first come, first served. There's only so much money at each one of those colleges, and they divvy it up. Once it's gone, it's gone. All right. So get in the virtual line for your financial aid, guys, by applying for FAFSA early. If you choose one of those colleges, usually it has a higher needs met. Trying to think. Of course, Harvard is one of those colleges where Tyler goes, where you have to do the CSS profile in addition. So it is a different financial aid application. Is more in depth and asks you even more information. And you want to be careful with that because they count your assets. Anything that you could liquidate to actually pay for college, they will ask you to consider doing it. So you want to have your things, consult with a financial advisor if you have those things. FAFSA.gov, I would be remiss if I didn't say it. They have a hotline. They will go line by line. It's annoying, but they actually will go line by line. And the other resource that's often looked to get help to fill out financial aid is the college itself. Even if you're not, like a college doesn't say, if I help you with your FAFSA, you have to come to this college. That's not how it works. So you can ask one of the colleges you're interested in going to just sit down and go through the FAFSA with you. Even your local community college, say you're going to take summer courses there, you can do that. You can reach out to them. All right. Make sure colleges have received all of your application. So all the pieces. Don't assume because you sent your part that your old high school, if you're returning to school, your current high school sent what they needed to send. All right. Evaluate your early decision. This is wintertime. Submit mid-year reports. That keeps you eligible for any scholarship offers they may have made you. Review your student aid report. The FAFSA submission summary is the name that they're using for student aid report now. And then they could ask you for financial aid verification. So you want to stay in those portals of the colleges that you're still considering because they may have other docs, that they're asking you for. All right. And you have AP exams. And at the end of the year, you must send your final high school transcript. All right. I'm going to take a moment for water. If we have any questions.
audience is that you're going over a lot of information. It's high level. There's definitely work to do after this. So they were asking, how do they get in touch with you afterwards if they want
Okay.
to ask some more specific questions?
All right, got that coming up for you guys. I'm sorry, it's a little warm. Okay. I'm gonna do something, and y'all forgive me. I'm gonna take my shoes off because I'm trying to avoid sitting down because it's warm. Yeah.
So let me ask, while you're doing
Go
that,
ahead.
let me ask some questions. Are you guys getting value out of today's session? Yes.
Okay.
You're getting what you came. So raise your hand if you want to share what valuable piece of information did you come here to get, and you got it. Anybody?
Mine is just real simple. It's that this is so important here, and I thank you for putting this workshop on for us.
You're
but
welcome.
and also that it is good to know that it's not just for people coming out of high school. So if I wanted to go back and pursue
Right.
something, that I could also do it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? And she has her hand up.
Yes, so I'm currently mentoring a student through a Journey mentoring program through Dallas. And the child that I'm mentoring, she's from Sunset High School. She's a sophomore. And she's like really pumped up to get like so much information. She knows that, you know,
cool.
there's scholarship grants and she wants to get a hold of them. So this is actually a great program. But I'm glad I made it here
I'm glad you did
to retrieve
too,
that
and I'm
information.
glad you were mentoring.
Yeah.
That's my
and
favorite thing.
I'm going to pass on this information.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys give her a hand. One of my big things is the village. It is hard this day and age to raise kids and get them through college without a village. And a lot of kids need somebody to show up for them. I get a lot of calls for that. I don't have the bandwidth. So I'm always super excited when I see somebody else stepping in that gap to support.
And what's very
you
important
want
too is
to-
that there's a lot of additional resources that we don't have time to go over.
Yeah.
So I would say staying connected with the Empower series. If you have any questions, I can tap you into resources or tap you into people like Tandy. There's a newsletter that we talked about, and she'll mention at the very end, which is very important to provide to you to continually give you updates on a monthly basis of scholarship opportunities and what you can do to help mentor young people and even yourself in achieving your goals. So, yeah.
Hello, I'm a mother of a rising senior. So the hardest part is for me is getting him more engaged, even though he's going to college. Well, he said he's going to college or whatnot. Just getting him more engaged. And if he doesn't know, and I don't know, then we both just stuck looking like, where's Waldo? So it's good for me. It's good for me to know this information. So I can get more organized. I love this funding comparison chart, and it puts it into perspective. So I know there's a couple of things that we do have in place, which he's in the collegiate.
Yes.
So that's a big plus. So I'm grateful for this, just some more so this put me on track and then get me more organized.
Well, I'm glad you came. Thank you. The other thing I say is, Nisa, but you have another name, so I don't. What do you prefer, Martrice? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say Martrice because I'm so used to seeing that online that's the name that I assigned to you. One of the things is I come out and do these community things, and I do run a business where I do this, right? And there's a matter of we streamline and get there, right? When you come in and work with me. But if you're a parent or a mentor that can't afford to tap in, Martrice, I think this is the second in-person thing she's been to. No, third. This is the third because you did UTD when I went and spoke at NSBE. You came out to the teen symposium and this, and she's following me on Facebook. I believe in giving. I run the business. We have a Facebook group. We have all these resources. You just have to keep showing up. That's the difference. Parents who pay me don't have to show up. I kind of become their college auntie. You know what I'm saying? I step in and kind of co-parent this process with them. And so just keep that in mind. There's more work. It's sweat equity that you're putting in, but you can do it. I got a message from a grandmother who follows me. And she said, I just wanted to let you know the stuff works. She got like $12,000 since we last spoke. So just keep that in mind, guys. I wanted to make sure that I recap these 4 steps before we left. Remember, these 4 steps are for the adults returning too. All right. You need to know your major and your career interest. Road Trip Nation and the ONET interest profiler were the tools that we gave you for that. That was the first step. The second one is find and apply to colleges. Big Future will help you sort and find it. And then the link to the colleges are on the Big Future profile. So you click there and go apply. All right. Make your college funding plan. The tools we gave you was a comparison chart. So you can see what things are going to be in my college funding plan. Right. And then the college budget worksheet lets you forecast how that's going to work out and break that money down. 4th step is you actually have to take action. You cannot just sit here and be like, I showed up today. You actually have to take action to get to the money and to get into college and all those things. So we gave you that My Future timeline. It has 9th, 10th. So your 10th grader, you can go on there. We did 12th grade because I wanted to go in between and let the adults know what to do and the seniors. But it has starting at 9th grade on that site. All right. And then I listed out the possible action steps. So this is everything kind of condensed on one page. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, right below, you have the hot links to go straight to this stuff. All right. People were asking, how do you get in touch with me? Thank you so much for wanting to get in touch with me. I can be reached text. I don't answer the phone unless I know who it is. I'm just be honest at this point as a business owner and the auntie. I think I counted and put it on Facebook. I think I'm up to like 15 nieces and nephews. It's a lot. So because of my personal roles and being an entrepreneur and a speaker and all these things, text. If you text this number 972-891-9413, and also text and give me some background. Like she said, I'm a mentor for a sophomore. She's excited. We're doing this thing. That goes a long way in me actually being able to do it. Facebook group. My Facebook group, if you go on my page actually, and I gotta tell my team, we have a link tree now. If you just go search for me on Facebook, Tandy Caraway, just search my name. My name is unique. It'll come up. And look in my bio. We have a link tree that lets you make appointments, that lets you get to the Facebook group, to the Facebook page. Any 2025 students, class of 2025? Okay, on the college mode page that's on there, we actually posted 25 scholarships for the class of 2025 over there. So go over there. We post a lot of resources on the page as well as the group. The difference in the group is I go live in the group and I ask questions. Like at Christmas time, I made scholarship lists just for the people who requested certain majors and things like that. So there's a lot of exclusive stuff in the group. And then Clifton being Clifton.
I gotta think about the community, right?
I gotta love this guy. Clifton being Clifton. Said, well, Tandy, you know, he bought me lunch. So, you know, he had a big girl. He got me because he bought me lunch. He said, I think when you come on the Empower series, this is really good. But these people, they're going to take some action. What are they going to do the rest of the year? They're going to get stuck. And what are they going to do? Is there something we can do? I went back to my team and they were like, all right, here's what we can do. So we made you guys a newsletter. It's called a Scholar Dollar Success Guide. People that are subscribed to him, it's exclusively for community partners. So those of you on YouTube that just follow me on Facebook, you're not going to get it unless you subscribe to Empower Series so that it's sent out to his email blast. But what we decided to do, and we've already planned out a year of content for you guys, is monthly we're going to drop this Scholar Dollar Success Guide for you. It's going to show you an example of somebody who's done it so you can be inspired, right, and have that hope. It's going to give you resources. This month's resource is Strategies for Debt-Free College, and it goes grade level starting at 6th grade. Like here's 5 to 7 strategies you can use, right? Or that you should be putting into place. We also actually included affirmations. That was one thing that was clipped. He's like, yeah, how do they pump them? I'm like, okay, we can put the affirmations in there. And then for parents and adults, we put reflection questions. for you to think about this process and each thing that we're talking about that's more concise. So it's really bite-sized, it's really focused. This month was like strategy, but in later months, we're going to talk about how to use online database. Like, where should you be searching online? How do you do that? Why? And then it gives you action steps to take for the parent and the team. If you're an adult, you're the parent and the team. You need to do all the things. That's the only difference. All right. So we put that guide together to give you hope, to give you an overview, to connect you to resources. And then we also have a section that has scholarships and internship opportunities there. So this month, I think we included about 4 or 5. Right. So that is what I've done in my dedication to this. So if you're watching Empower series, please stay connected, because I come back to his things for myself with the financial stuff. But also follow me and share out that I'm out here doing this work for people. And we do have, like I said, I do run this as a business, but I show up in these spaces all the time. And Martrice can attest to it, because she's been in these spaces with me here in Dallas. But it takes a village, and it takes continual engagement for me to be able to keep showing up. And there are some things like Comerica, different people will sponsor, but you have to show up as a community and say, this is what I need, and engage with this so that we're able to keep funding things like this. All right. Clifton, did I leave anything out? I feel like I went over the 4 steps. I went over, are there any other questions on YouTube I can answer before I hop out?
Is she doing a great job? Is she doing a great job?
Thank you. I talked myself out of my shoes. Okay. Yeah, the fan wasn't kicking in strong enough. I'm like, I got to get some relief somewhere. All right.
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. You did do an amazing job. And just for us in the audience and on YouTube to get the word out, because this is very informative. There are a lot of people in the community that don't know, you know, and, you know, I know us as, you know, African Americans being the most you know, in poverty. I think we need to know this information. So thank you, and thank you to Miss Juanita, because she invited myself and I brought my son.
Thank you.
You know, because I know it would have been, you know, informative for him too. So I would just say get the word out, and you know, what better to do that than word of mouth.
Thank you all so much. And I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, I didn't say this for the younger ones, but people get upset. But I promised myself I was gonna say it, because my friends who so far I sleep on to feed me and do all this stuff when I'm traveling and I'm just tired sometimes. There are some things that they're concerned about because they hear me talking behind the scenes. Testing is not going away. If anything, they're bringing it back. Please don't let that be the barrier to the money, please, because no matter what, they're going to test you to assess whether you can access the college level classes. And if you can't score, like, remember I put in, if you all were watching, I put in 1050 as that average score. That's the college readiness score. If you don't at least meet that score, you're going to go into remedial classes anyway. And then you're going to essentially lose part of your scholarship money if they let you keep it. FAMU, if you can't pass their math exam, even if you have the GPA and the SAT, if you can't pass their math exam, they take their money back. It's conditional on that test. So build those skills. Please build those skills, and please start earlier. Okay. Start paying attention to what your kid is doing that's connected to scholarship money. Those are the things. My heart breaks when I see. I saw a kid in a Facebook group. One of my friends tagged me. She said, they're giving out too much misinformation over here. I know you're busy. Can you go over there and tell them the right thing? It was a whole thread of just like misinformation. And so keeping in mind that, start early. So if you do make a misstep, you got time to correct. All right. All right, Clifton, go ahead.
Yes. And I would say a couple of things. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Yes, thank you. And your participation, even if I forced it.
Right. There's a number of things I want to say. Number one is college and education is very important, because at some point we were denied that. So it is very important. But college is not the only type of education. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different advanced courses to learn anything in your field or your skill set. They always talk about entrepreneurship is not taught in school. Tyler's undergraduate degree was in architecture and entrepreneurship. He actually started a business while he was in school. And he's starting another business now. So while you're in school, you can still start businesses. The goal is not, the goal is to teach people how to think critically, how to solve problems, and when you're out in the real world, that's how you're graded.
Yeah.
Can you solve the number one problem of making enough money to support your lifestyle?
That's it. That's when
number
you're
one.
successful.
And then if you're one of the few that have an idea that's bigger than you and you want to provide some kind of value to the marketplace, like an entrepreneur, like a company, then there's other resources. There's other ways of learning besides just going to college.
Yeah.
Like the Small Business Development Center and the Resource Partners SCORE that provides classes, online classes, on demand classes, and mentorship. There's the Small Business Development Center. There's a Women Development Center.
There's Year Up. I didn't mention them. Year Up will actually, for a year you work for them, they teach you skills. You're taking certification tests and all that stuff. And when that year is over, they typically are putting you with like the Federal Reserve, Bank of America. Those are all partners of that program. And so it does look like kind of traditional school, but not traditional school. It's somewhere in between traditional school and an experiential experience, like apprenticeship type thing. Because you do go in and intern while you're within that year, that 9 months to a year. So just keep an open mind. A lot of times, and talk to your kid. If they hate school, if you got to fight them, they think college is a continuation of that. And let them go stay with a cousin on campus or something and let them get that real college experience so that they see is college. High school is the foundation for college, but high school and college are nothing alike, probably beyond that, other than sitting in those classes. When you're in college, you're typically in class literally 15 to 18 hours a week. The rest of that time is your time to build the foundation for your adult life. Yeah.
So I want to
go ahead.
Say goodbye to the online audience real quick,
Yes.
but we're not done because we still got some food left over and we still need to network. But online, I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't let this be the ending. Let it be the beginning. We did have some technical problems in the very beginning because we're in the basement here, but we hopefully got that solved. We are going to put out there a clean version of the recorded program because in the very beginning it was kind of spotty. They could hear the valuable information, but they couldn't see you.
Oh, they couldn't see my pretty dress. Okay.
So be
Said it was pretty.
So be patient with us. We're going to get something that's edited and clean that's out there. But subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of our programs are out there. We've been putting our programs out there since 2016. We started the Empower Series in 2011. And again, every third Saturday, we're out here in the community doing something, empowering people, empowering each other. We cannot be what we are if it's not for you. So thank you for sharing this. You know, don't let this be the end. Until we meet again, be empowered and inspired to thrive. So I'll see you again at our next workshop, which is the 15th of June. We're going to talk about home ownership. It's going to be here starting at 10 o'clock. If you come in person, we'll have some more food and networking. We'll start the program live at 10:30. That's June 15th. Tell somebody so that we can like just overflood. We can be, this would be virtual, like, what is it? Viral. There you go.
Yeah.
Let it be viral. Okay,
Go
so
viral.
I'll see you guys next month. And also, if you have any questions, you can email me at thrive@empowerseries.com. That's THRIVE @empowerseries.com, or again, connect with us on any of our social media accounts. Until we meet again.
All right.
Oh, give up.